One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
On this week's episode of Blood, Sweat and Gears, we get all nostalgic and check out the Twinshock racing scene with British engineer Simon Gower, who gives us an insight into what it takes to keep these beautiful retro machines running. And at the end of the show, we meet up with Paul Houghton, who on next week's show will be attempting to break the Guinness record for distance travelled in 24 hours on a motocross track.
I rode bikes since I was sort of probably 8 years old. My dad rode bikes before that. My granddad rode a sidecar. Race locally, sort of AMCA mainly, and then now and again have a bit of fun on the Evo bike, which my dad's owned and built, and sort of lends it me for a race now and again. I mean, I'm only 28. Well, I suppose I'll say not young, but I think what appeals to it is I grew up in an era of people like Jean-Michel Bale and Dave Thorpe, and I thought it was always a dream of mine to sort of ride a bike from that era, really. And it's Dad built it probably 2 years ago now, really, when he first got hold of it, and it's just completely different style of riding. It's really just more difficult, if anything, I'd say. Just really a lot more difficult. You've got to sort of know when to brake, know when to accelerate. Where like with the 4-stroke, it's just a bit more. Modern bike's just a bit easier. I mean, if you're fast, but it's easier. I think the racing itself's a little bit slower. So like, but then the tracks are a bit more natural. Well, like, you know, I mean, if you went over a big modern obstacle on this, it's not built for that. But it's more difficult to ride, and sort of I grew up riding KX65s, 85s and 125s, so I like riding a 2-stroke, and I like the noise, I like everything about it, really. It's just I suppose it's becoming popular because it's what motocross used to be, and I think sometimes the modern sport's a bit, I mean, I say it's expensive, but when these go wrong, it's probably the same price, you know, if not more sometimes. But I think it's just a different era. The tracks are natural. They're not as rough. You know, you get berms in the corners where sort of now modern bikes dig massive holes everywhere, and it's just really fun, really good fun. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Obviously, the appeal of either bike. I mean, fashion sort of dictates that the newer bike looks cooler now. The handlebars, obviously, this has actually been changed for Renthal twin walls, but obviously originally it would have come with steel bars that are a lot lower. I think another difference, obviously, is the foot pegs. Again, they've been changed, cheating a little bit, but the original foot pegs on this would have been really thin. So it's sort of, your balance point's not as good. Obviously, the actual size of the bike, it's a lot lower. It's a lot skinnier as well. Obviously, when you look at the modern bike, you've got a lot more to sort of to get round. The seating position as well on the modern bike is a lot flatter and a lot higher. So sort of it's good if you're tall. Sort of, I mean, I'm 6'2", so on this, I do sometimes feel a little bit like I'm in the bike rather than on it, but the cornering on it makes it great with you're sort of sat in the bike, which is a big difference. Obviously 18-inch back wheel instead of a 19, which just sort of, you know, I think they went to 19-inch in 1989, so obviously this is an 88, which gives it obviously a smaller back wheel. Pretty much it. I mean, everything, you know, the actual mechanics of both bikes are the same. The brakes work the same. Obviously not as good. Don't seem as good on an older bike to a modern bike where they sort of stop instantly. And the suspension really is probably the main thing. The suspension's a lot softer. It's sort of like you wouldn't want to hit a big jump on it. And sort of the 88 was the last year that on the Honda anyway that they used conventional forks instead of upside down, which obviously what you now see on a modern bike.
Just about everything retro is popular these days, and the off-road motocross world sees grown men becoming misty-eyed about the machines that they first rode back in their youth. And this means business is booming for engineers who are able to make replacement parts to keep the bikes of their youth running and looking like new.
We started early 80s in the schoolboys, then went into the AMCA, rode the championships, did the Imbers, did the Maxis, and then we kind of knocked it on the head for a bit because the way modern motocross went, I sort of lost interest really. It's the four strokes have killed things, the cost of the four strokes running them. They're that easy to get on and race fast that it's taken away from any skill level of riding, to be honest. And that's why we looked at coming and doing the Evolution and Twinshock as a bit of fun, because it's more back onto the rider rather than the bikes, to be honest. Yes, we did a meeting in 96 or 97. My dad had still got his 1981 490 Maico from back in the day, which he had new. And we went and did Nantwich, which I did enjoy, to be honest. And we'd also got a 1985 CR500 Honda from new, which had been rode about 4 or 5 times and put away into storage. So it was a bit of a no-brainer really, go and enjoy yourself by getting the bikes out and forget the modern way of doing things really. And it sort of went from that. There's so many people who are disillusioned with the modern way. The racing's gone. The racing to watch is boring. You can basically look at the line and pick who's first, second, third and fourth, and a lot of the tracks as well, like the bigger tracks, they're getting more like trick riding where you're not racing the guy in front of you. You've got to think about the jumps, and for an average guy to turn up at a big meeting, you can't go to practice tracks and practice all these big jumps. They're not a problem to do, but to turn up and have like 15 minutes worth of free practice and be expected to go and do like 120-foot jump here followed by this and that, it's hard work. And when you've got to go to work on a Monday morning, your priorities change. It's not that it can't be done, it's just that it ain't what racing's about. It's a national Twinshock, it's the tough sheet. There's a lot of good riders in it, riders of all different calibres as well. They've got the Twinshock bikes, which are Twinshocks air-cooled drum brakes, and they've got the Evolution as well, which is up to 1989. And the racing's really good. But we got into it, like I say, because of the lack of interest in the modern way of doing things. And then, because we've got a fabrication business, we started making the bits and pieces, and then footrests turned into frames and so on. and then we started making bikes.
After the break, we see Simon in his workshop as he shows us around his Aladdin's cave of parts and fabricating machines that will have many men drooling like kids in a sweet shop.
Well, we started off doing a bit of Twinshock racing, and then finding that certain parts weren't available, or what was available wasn't very good. Because we can make them, we decided to, and that's pretty much it really. So it's getting over problems and developing things that are like we're happy with, and then letting people buy them if they want them at the end of the day. There's a few people about who do make similar things. But again, our bikes are unique to us, as in we make everything in-house. Like I'm the one who makes the frames with my dad. So we're hands-on, you know, we know where it comes from, and that's why we make a big thing out of the built, not bought. Like all of our items are fully tested before they're released by myself on the tracks, and you know, it's all fully sorted properly. Mainly Twinshock bikes at the moment, because there's a big Twinshock scene. A lot of people are quite disillusioned with the modern way of riding. And yeah, it's Twinshocks, because you've got like the likes of the 1981 Maico, which is known as the best Twinshock that was ever built. And we've done our version of that, and it's come out really well, to be honest. Well, we started doing Twinshock racing properly. I mean, I've rode it before at the odd meeting when I was younger. But 2007 was the first sort of championship that we entered to do, and then it sort of grew from there. Because again, if we see a need for a part, or I needed a part myself, I'd much rather make it to our standard and see about using it.
Well, this is a Twinshock meeting with the pre-83 125s and Evos also. My bike is a Suzuki RM125, 1983 vintage, one of the very early monoshocks. I built it myself from basically a scrap bike, and hence what you see today. I raced one of these as a schoolboy, and I've always been interested in racing, and it's my first year back racing. And since I raced one as a teenager, I fancied racing one again. It was a bike I knew, so I sourced one and built one, and I'm thoroughly enjoying riding it. I built it over the winter. It took probably about 6 months from start to finish, sourcing all the parts from various places around the world, and then yeah, started riding in March. Well, to get it to this level, obviously quite a lot. Probably £3,500 invested in that. I mean, I was never a front runner anyway, but I'm running in the middle of the pack, and I'm enjoying it. Obviously, well, my work commitments don't always allow me to ride all the time, but when I can, I'm here.
Well, we source our frame tube locally, made just up the road. So we have to buy the tube in and shape it to suit, really. That's what it is, make the brackets and get them together. Well, we've done that because there's a lot of guys out there who like the Maico handling but don't like the Maico engine. And some people, like I say, that you can cut them and they'll be Yamaha or Honda or